Hi everybody and welcome to our web series. This week we're going to be talking about the power of using positive phrases with your child. My name is Kelly Pierson and I'm one of the board certified behavior analysts here at CBI at our Mokina location, and this week I'll be talking to you about positive phrases. Today we're going to be focusing on how to label expectations for your child, how to provide behavior-specific praise. We'll work through multiple examples and we'll do a few role-play scenarios. Labeling expectations is something you can do across any activity with your child. This can include trips to the grocery store, outings to the park, or even homework tasks at home. So when you're doing these activities, it's really important that you label what's expected of your child. When doing this, you want to use really simplified language based on the needs of your child. If your child is younger, you don't want to be using complex sentences, but simple statements. And then you want to tell your child the things that you want them to do, not what you don't want to see. And we'll work through a few examples after this. When labeling expectations, it's important to use simplified language and to label what you want to see from your child. Let's look at a few examples. You can say, use 2 hands to carry your food, we walk in the house, use a quiet voice, share your toys, put the toy in the bin, and hold my hand when we walk. We'll go through a couple more detailed scenarios so that you can try this on your own. Now that we've talked through what it means to label expectations for your child, let's try a few examples on our own. In this scenario, 6-year-old Johnny wants to go outside and play in his backyard with his brother. So what are some expectations you can label for him? Remember, we want to be using positive language that meets his needs. We also want to make sure that we're telling him what he can do, not what he can't do. Let's check and see how you did with this example. So remember, 6-year-old Johnny wanted to go outside and play in his backyard with his brother. So what were some expectations you labeled for him? If they sounded like we go down the slide, sit on your bottom, or take turns with your brother, then you're on the right track. Let's try another example. In this one, 10-year-old Jenny wants to play video games in the basement. So what are some expectations that we can label for her? Remember, we want to be telling her what she can do, and we want to be using positive language. Keep in mind, Jenny's 10, so we can use a little bit more complex language in this example. Let's check and see how you did with Jenny. What expectations did you label for her? Did they sound like keep the volume low, set a timer for 10 minutes, or take turns with your sister? Were there other examples that you can think of for this? Now that we've talked about labeling expectations and what that means and sounds like, we're going to move on and talking about behavior-specific praise. Behavior-specific praise is a really great way to reinforce the appropriate behaviors of your child. Reinforcing these appropriate behaviors is going to increase the likelihood that those behaviors will continue in the future. Similar to labeling expectations, we want to remember to use those positive phrases and positive voice. We want to be praising the behaviors that we'd like to see again. We can do this by using specific language and making sure it matches the needs of the child. Again, we can use more complex language for older children and simplifying it for the younger ones. Let's look at a few examples of what it means to be providing behavior-specific praise. It can sound like, I love how you cleaned your room, great sharing with your brother, nice walking, way to go finishing your homework, or great playing. We're going to go through a couple different scenarios so that you can practice this in a little bit more detail. Let's try an example here. In this one, Bobby is playing cars and trains with his brother Joey. What are some ways that you can provide behavior-specific praise to each of the boys? Let's check and see how you did. So remember, Bobby was playing cars and trains with his brother Joey. We want to be talking about some ways that we can provide behavior-specific praise to each of the boys. We could say things like, "Great sharing, boys," "Nice job driving your trains on the tracks," "I love how you built the train tracks," or "Great cleaning up." Can you think of a few additional examples? Let's try another example. In this one, 4-year-old Katie is playing dress up with mom. So what are some ways that mom can provide behavior-specific praise to Katie? Keep in mind she's 4, so we want the language to meet her. Let's check and see how you did with Katie. So remember, 4-year-old Katie was playing dress up with her mom. So some ways that her mom could provide behavior-specific praise are, "I like how you spin in your dress," "You picked a fun outfit," and "Good sharing, Katie." Are there other examples that you can think of? Now that we have talked about outlining expectations as well as providing behavior-specific praise, we want to try and put all of this together in multiple examples. So let's take a look at the one below. 5-year-old Minnie is about to help mom make some lunch. So what are some ways that our mom can label expectations for her as they make lunch together? What are some ways that mom could also provide behavior-specific praise along the way? Let's check and see how you did with 5-year-old Minnie. So remember, 5-year-old Minnie was about to help mom make her lunch. So what were some ways that you can label expectations for her as they make lunch together? Mom could say things like, "Make sure to stand on your stool," "Wash your hands," and "Keep your hands down." As they make lunch, mom can praise her by saying things like, "Nice job listening to mommy," "Your hands are so clean," and "What a yummy lunch you made." Are there other examples you can think of for these? Let's try another example here. So 8-year-old Jeff is about to play catch with his dad. What are some ways that dad can label the expectations for Jeff before they play? What are also some ways that dad can provide behavior-specific praise as they play together? Let's check and see how you did with 8-year-old Jeff. So remember, Jeff was about to play catch with his dad. What are some ways that his dad can label those expectations for him? They can be things like, "Get your mitt from the shelf," "Go stand by the tree," and "Wait for me." What are some ways that dad can provide that behavior-specific praise along the way? He could say things like, "Great catch," "Great throw," "Nice job waiting for me." Can you think of some others? Let's try another example. In this one, we have 6-year-old Tommy who's about to go shopping at the grocery store with his mom and dad. What are some ways that they can label the expectations for him? And what are some ways that they can provide that behavior-specific praise along the way? Let's look and see how you did with Tommy and his parents. So some ways that Tommy's parents can outline expectations for him are saying things like, "Stay next to mom and dad," "Hold on to the cart," or "Use a quiet voice." Some ways that they can praise his behavior along the way are, "Great walking, Tommy," "Nice job filling up the cart," and "Great listening to mom and dad." Let's try one more example before we finish. In this one, 13-year-old Jill is having a friend over to her house. What are some ways her parents can outline expectations for her, as well as some ways that they can provide behavior-specific praise? Let's look and see how we can have outlined expectations for Jill while she had a friend over. Mom and dad could have said something like, "Keep your voices down," "Offer your friends a snack," or "You can play in the basement or outside." Some ways that they can praise her are, "Thank you for cleaning up after yourselves," "You girls were nice and quiet," and "Thank you for following the rules." To summarize today's presentation, we want to remember to outline expectations with our child across activities and environments. This could be across any activity that you complete throughout the day. When you observe your child following the rules that you've outlined for them, it's important to provide behavior-specific praise. We want to make sure we're using language that meets the needs of our child, and we always want to be using positive language that tells them what they can do or what they did that was correct. Thank you so much for joining us for today's web series. If you're looking for more information, visit our website at www.cbitherapy.com.